Hi, I'm Yug, and today we're going to be talking about 3 RPGs that I'm going to be trying to convince my players to play. So we're going to be taking a look at 3 of these RPGs and take a look at some of the high points as an elevator pitch, if you will. It's going to be how I'm going to be presenting these RPGs to the players in my group to try and convince them, hey, we should play something else other than D&D. Number 1, the Alien RPG. Now, Alien, the movie, the first one that came out in the 70s, or not the 70s, 80s? I don't remember. Year date on screen or something like that. It has got to be one of the greatest sci-fi horror movies ever made. Or I think so personally. And I think a lot of other people would also probably agree with that. But the universe, the lore, the corporate, dystopian sci-fi future is just so cool. And the tech and the feeling and the atmosphere and tone that was presented is just, there was nothing else like it at the time. And there's been so many clones of it, and it has grown into this massive franchise. But that first film is amazing, and on its own is a legacy beyond the other films that came after it. I don't really count Alien vs. Predator. They're kind of, if you like it, you like it. It's cool. But the original Alien franchise movie, the first one, is a cinematic masterpiece. So that alone is great. And it has one of the most iconic monsters ever made. The Xenomorph, the chest burster. It's just cool and horrific. So who wouldn't want to play in an RPG with this universe and this terrible monster? Some of these specific highlights I'm taking from the Alien RPG are the box sets. So there's 3 of them out right now, and I cannot remember what they're called, but they're billed as a cinematic tabletop role-playing experience. So it's meant to be fast action, punchy, to the point, very high drama. Sounds cool to me, and the art is just, and evokes that tone and atmosphere that you're going for with sci-fi horror that you would expect with Alien. And as far as mechanics go, of course, it's a little bit different. One of the really cool things that I think is very innovative, and one of the, that's so hard to say right now. One of the really cool mechanics that I like that's innovative is the stress mechanic. You gain more stress, and that adds more dice to the rolls that you make. You use D6 to roll for abilities and things that you might do, like if you're hacking a console or trying to, I don't know, tech stuff. I'm sure there's things in the book that I just haven't read yet. Whatever. When you're trying to use a skill, you roll a amount of D6s equal to your proficiency with that skill. If you roll a 6 on any of them, you succeed. If you roll a 1, you fail. But as you get more stress, you get more of these D6s to roll with your given ability. Again, increasing the likelihood that you could succeed unanimously through stress. Think about it, you got the blood and the adrenaline pumping, and you're just going at it, and you fumble your way to, unlocking the door and getting through in the nick of the time. Or the stress breaks you, you roll a 1, and you become frozen in fear as a xenomorph stalks up behind you and then, lights out. Number 2, Mork Borg. This thing is blown up. I just didn't see it, apparently. There's a pretty good reason for it. Honestly, style alone, it's sick. I mean, who wouldn't want to play a doom metal fantasy universe that is experiencing its final days? It's just cool. The style of Mork Borg is totally different than D&D. It's just on a whole other level. It's very, I'm going to say it again, doom metal. It's like looking at some of these old heavy metal album covers, and that's your campaign. The rules for this game also just fit on one sheet. Dead simple. It's kind of a part of the OSR style of games, or the old school revival. Thing that I've also learned existed outside the realm of D&D that's very influenced by old school D&D, but it's very focused on rules light, get into the action. I like it as a philosophy to approaching RPGs, and something I'm looking at more. Another interesting thing about Mork Borg are all the rules that are made by the players. So whether that's attacking a monster or defending from that monster, a player rolls for it. DM doesn't have to roll at all. I like this because that puts the fate totally in the hands of the players. There's no question about fudging dice rolls. You state the DC they have to make, they make it, or they break it. And as a final part, I mean, beyond the oozing cool style and heavy metal coolness that is Mork Borg, the rules are free. Can't beat that, honestly. But I mean, the book looks sick. Why wouldn't you want to have it on your shelf? I mean, being an RPG player, even if you did just like D&D before, is just like being, like hardbound art book collector simulator, right? I mean, come on. But easy enough to get your other players in if they don't have to pay for it. It's a nice little plus. Third on my list is Lancer. I don't really have a whole lot to say about Lancer other than giant fighting robots. Growing up, I loved Gundam. My first Gundam was Gundam Wing, which arguably not the greatest of them and hasn't aged super great, but I still have a soft spot for it. And there's just so many cool things about giant fighting robots. I mean, whether that's them fighting other robots or, giant monsters. What is it called? What's the word I'm thinking of? Kaiju. It's just cool. So what's really cool about Lancer's role-playing system is it kind of gives you two separate systems. You have your heavy Captain Crunch mech combat, and then you have your rules light pilot combat, or role-playing. It's pretty cool. And on top of that, you can jump out of your mech and do other stuff. Not really sure yet exactly about all those things, but I do know you can jump on a mech and rodeo ride it or something like that. I'm not sure if that's effective, but you can do it. So one of the cool things that I really like about Lancer's combat is it does introduce this idea or concept of damage types. So your weapons can deal either an energy, kinetic, tech, or burn damage, I believe. And you will have different enemies or mech types that will be immune to certain types of damage. So it really influences this whole making a loadout for your mech that is going to be able to combat different scenarios or adapt on the fly, if you will. So you might get into a battle with some enemy mechs where they might be immune to energy damage, and you might have to get up and close and personal with a mech-sized knife and get up in their face, or vice versa, where you're trying to pin down some targets with a minigun that's huge and cool and Gatling like heavy arm style. That's what I'm going for. I can't wait. And it's just pinging off their armor, and you have to take out a beam saber and jet boost board and take them down. I don't know. I haven't really read the rules. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. But, you know, this is my fantasy I've got going on. As you can tell, I'm super excited. Also, on top of all this, the rules are free. You can download them from their website. Gives you a quick start guide. Gives you everything you need to know to play, I think, minus a lot of the lore bits. And honestly, giant fighting robots, okay? Come on, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure a lot of you know about some of these or maybe have not heard of any of them. Have you played them? Shout them out. Tell me about it. Tell me things that I can tell my player group that will make them super excited to play any of these games. Come on, please, give them to me. If you like the video with the things, you got it. Still not too great with this whole thing yet. Yeah, bye.